Remembering contradiction. Contradiction sits at the heart of Ampannee Satoh's artistic practice. Her images remembering, giving presence to those assumed, overlooked, denied. How do the words of the Quran offer veil to the hidden desire to be seen? How does official narrative that obstructs the truth pave opportunity for repetitive violence? In one photographic series, we see a woman's form suggested beneath drapes of jet black. She appears to be lying on her back. Her eyes, a hand, a foot, an arm daring to be revealed. Is she struggling to breathe? Is she in a state of arousal? Is she clothed beneath that dense colour under Islam which controls disobedience? In another photographic series, various rural sites of southern Thailand are pictured in sepia tone. A river bath, a river jetty, a tomb, a palm-lined local street. Adjacent to these images is the digitally projected moving images of a monument to the dead. The ambient sounds of its forest locality anchoring its presence. Soon we begin to hear the voice of Satoh singing what sounds like a prayer. What happened here? Who is she remembering? Satoh's imagery is anchored in her Islamic faith, an ancestral heritage with deep spiritual meaning for her as a Thai Malay Muslim from Pattani in southern Thailand. Malay peoples are historically a coastal trading community, linking vastly different ethnicities in faith from Malaysia, Indonesia, Thailand, Singapore, and Brunei. In Thailand today, Islam is a minority faith. The provinces of today's Pattani, Yala, and Narathiwat, what was once known as the Pattani Kingdom, an Islamic Malay Sultanate, was annexed to Siam during the Ayutthaya period of 1350 to 1767, which was Siam's fifth violent attempt to conquer. Thai Malay Muslims possess a cultural and religious identity that remains socially fraught in a country whose kingdom is predominantly ardently Buddhist. Though Satoh grew up in a religiously active family, they never forced its teachings, despite her grandfather being the founder of a pondok, a local Islamic boarding school in her hometown. Satoh and her siblings were free to decide their own way of believing. It is this path of choosing how to live her faith that Satoh's art marks as journey, and it visibly wrestles with the contradictions she must face between her faith and the realities of navigating the social and historical landscapes of our 21st century. The presence of contradiction in her life, be it religious or social, is a dilemma that her art confronts, and the Quran, the holy book of Islam, offers verse that both comforts and perplexes. The following is verse 2431 from the Quran. And tell the believing women to lower their gaze and guard their chastity, and not to reveal their adornments, except when normally appears. Let them draw their veils over their chests, and not reveal their hidden adornments, except to their husbands, their fathers-in-law, their sons, their stepsons, their brothers' sons or sisters' sons, their fellow women, those bondwomen in their possession, male attendants with no desire, or children who are still unaware of women's nakedness. Let them not stomp their feet, drawing attention to their hidden adornments. Turn to Allah in repentance altogether, O believers, so that you may be successful. Titled Surah An-Nur, or The Light, this surah or verse inspired Satoh to create her photographic series, also called The Light. This is the surah that is referred for instruction on how Muslim women should dress, and this question of dress proved a particular topic of complexity for Satoh during her studies of photography in Paris, France in 2010. The year the French Senate made the prohibition of any face covering in public a law, punishable by fine and citizen education. The ruling sparked heated public debate concerning issues of immigration, nationalism, secularism, security, and sexuality. This experience led Satoh to question her rights. Is she permitted the right to choose how she faces the world? Is faith a choice? Is a woman's right to wear the hijab a choice? Who has the right to decide what is right and what is wrong? She acknowledges that many women choose to interpret this surah in a way that elides its encouragement of chastity, revealing their power in body language as perhaps even more provocative than the exposure of their skin. Since 2010, Satoh has made the hijab a part of her daily attire, a form of dress increasingly accepted in southern Thailand. She believes only Allah has the right to decide what is right and wrong, believing she has no right to judge another for their opinions and actions. But sadly, our world is not as tolerant as we would like. Too many conflicts have occurred in belligerent and violent fashion, to which our record of its history too often overlooks its repetition. In Tugu, 1370 to 1425, Satoh honours two events of historical injustice that are of particular sensitivity to her community. 1370 to 1425, marking the Thai Buddhist calendar years. The first injustice took place on April 28, 1948, a Thai Muslim rebellion at Dusun Nyor in Narathiwat province, prompted by anger with government prejudice against Thai Muslims, in addition to Malay communist harassment that was spilling over Thailand's border with Malaysia, tensions that were with no avenue of governmental protection. The second injustice took place between April and October 2004 in the three Thai Muslim provinces of southern Thailand, when the Krutse Mosque was stormed, one of Thailand's most sacred Muslim sites, following military attacks by Thai Muslim guerrilla insurgent groups, which culminated in Takbai town with mass roundup of Thai Muslim insurgents. In both instances, the Thai police and government military forces took armed force, causing great casualties. In both instances, the Thai government failed to acknowledge the ethnic tensions the military was exacerbating. Following the Takbai incident, video documentation taken by Thai Muslims contesting official account of the incident provoked nationwide protest, to which the Thai government declared the material propaganda against Thaksin Shinawatра's rule. The truth behind the occurrence of such historically linked violence remains refuted by official state narrative, desiring a focus on assimilation at all costs, a stance which continues to prohibit recognition of Thai Muslim ethnicity in a predominant Buddhist-governed country. The crux of Tugu as a project lies in Satoh's desire to give collective remembrance to the linked memory of these incidents. They somewhat occurred on the same date, with the same historic communities, suffering the same governmental oppression. These two photographs lie at the heart of Tugu. On the right is what has come to be known as the Bullet Monument. It sits within the police grounds in Dusun Nyor, unmarked. It is rumoured to hold the bones of the police members who died. On the left is Satoh's own monument to the Thai Muslims who died carrying out this 1948 rebellion. 70 stones for the 70 years that Dusun Nyor fails to be commemorated and rightfully mourned. Almost like a historian excavating the fact from its fictions, Satoh provides us with additional context to these historical events, prompting us, her audience, to imagine, to situate, to remember their linked atrocity. In this photo, Satoh's father stands in front of Takbai police station. This was the site where villagers who had taken part in Takbai incident were tied up and taken for questioning. This photo marks several tombs in honour of those who died in 2004 near Takbai police station. This photo shares a glimpse of the village of Dusun Nyo. This photo shares the bathing site where villagers once took coconut showers whilst reading the Quran, believing such ritual would prevent them from being shot by the enemy. This photo reveals the tomb of the dead of the Dusun Nyo rebellion. The final artwork in Tugu is a moving image projection as prayer. It is the monument for the 28 Thai Muslim who died as a consequence of the Takbai incident in 2004. Its structure is housed in the grounds of Talo Mano Mosque in Narathiwat province. Sit down and listen. There is a sense that this is a still image, a photograph, that is breathing. The sounds of the forest abounds, cicadas, crickets, birds, and more. There is a sense of calm. Soon we can hear Satoh gently singing.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alamin. Ar-Rahmanir-Rahim. Maliki Yawmiddin. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. Ihdinas siratal mustaqim. Siratal ladzina an'amta 'alaihim ghairil maghdubi 'alaihim waladdallin. Amin. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Qul huwallahu ahad. Allahus samad. Lam yalid wa lam yulad. Wa lam yakul lahu kufuwan ahad.
Say, O Prophet, He is Allah, one and indivisible. Allah, the sustainer, needed by all. He has never had offspring, nor was he born, and there is none comparable to him. I lament how much of our world is full of the arrogance of assumption, our histories unchallenged, our minds far too often complacent with the sinister algorithms that feed us news on a measurement of our habits. Satoh poetically offers space with which to contemplate the contradictions in our social worlds, begging us to consider our own judgments and whether we truly have the right to make them.